washing machine that sounds like it's about to go into orbit. So it's a little wild.
Well, we're 5 minutes in. I think either folks want to come up on stage, drop some questions in chat. Probably just kick it off. It's effectively an open session.
Yeah, that sounds great. Folks can go ahead and start throwing up hands. We can pull some folks onto stage. Go ahead and throw questions or comments in the chat. We have to keep an eye on that. As a reminder, for anyone that might be new to the official Helium Discord, we can't really speculate on token value, any future stuff like that. No ROI or any of those sorts of things. So apologies in advance. We'll probably have to shut those conversations down. Happy to talk on any sort of fundamentals of the network, things that we're excited about that are slated for building in the coming year, things that Foundation is up to, all that fun stuff. So yeah, we can go ahead and kick things off from there. I see, looks like there's a couple of hands up already. Oh, I love this picture in.
Oh, beautiful.
That's a stunning picture right there. That's just a good picture all around, and it's a hot spot.
Nice.
Yeah, I see there's at least one hand up. I'm going to go ahead and pull, I want to say keyword, but there's no W. Yeah, if you want to pop up here, I think we can have you up. Maybe we lost him there. So, oh yeah, go take it away, Scott.
No, I was just gonna, Sunset Brian, data usage and backhaul fees. Was there a question around that? Waiting on the typing.
Open-ended. I can try and take a stab at the question in an open-ended way. So, yeah, well, I guess at a high level, there's two. What's that?
Nope, go away, Joey. Take it away.
Oh, yeah. So the network at a high level, there's two networks that operate under this Helium protocol. So we have the IoT network and we have the mobile network. And so speaking directly to, what was the exact usage there? Backhaul fees. Anyone that's transferring data through the Helium network, through those hotspots, that hotspot gets rewarded at different rates depending on which network is operating there. So for the IoT network, 100,000 messages costs $1. And that's paid in data credits, which are, of course, converted from HNT. And then similarly on the mobile network, the data is billed at 50 cents per gigabyte, again, paid in those data credits by Helium Mobile in this case, which is the carrier operating the plan. Or I guess if you happen to have an eSIM that's a direct usage of the Helium Mobile network, it would also do the same thing. And then as far as usage goes, I definitely do not have those numbers baked into my head, but the most accurate representation of usage can be seen on a Dune dashboard that I will dig up a link for.
I'll say I know waveforms. Waveform. I want to drop.
What? I'm quick. Let's see who can beat
You're
me
quick.
to it. There we go. I only look at it like twice a day, so. I am loving these install pictures in the chat.
I know. I said we can just
We
spend
just
all
need to
day
have,
looking at just beautiful.
yeah, show your installs. We need just like a straight show and tell call.
So I just want to answer that question from Dreaming About Crypto. So the question is, I have a local retail cellular stores. I would love to start selling Helium Mobile as a dealer with some sort of commission built in. Are there plans for that this coming year? So just to get a point of clarification for folks, so Helium Mobile is a carrier that Nova Labs runs. So any sort of commercial partnership dealings, anything with the carrier, that's more of a Nova Labs question where, Joey and I are both Helium Foundation.
Yeah. A lot of the Nova Lab folks are around in this Discord, and particularly the 5G CBRS Wi-Fi channel. You can usually catch somebody in there. So if you have a direct question around that, you can maybe catch somebody on that side of things. Otherwise, I think emailing them is a solid way to go. Obvious caveats around holidays too, though. I'm in love with these pictures. Look at there's a
I know.
LoRa
This
antenna
is,
in the background there. Uh, I hope everyone else is seeing these in the chat because boy, there's some good stuff.
I mean, honestly, Joey, these are all going in our next education deck. These are great,
Yeah,
guys.
I'm trying to find the CBRS antenna on this balcony. I'm guessing it's behind the fern. Uh, yeah,
I'm looking on that one.
you gotta show me. You gotta show me the picture. You gotta. Jonathan, I think, is the user there. Cool. So it's like Sunset Brian, that Dune Link covered it for you. There's a bunch of dashboards in that Helium Foundation team. I definitely recommend anyone that's checking out that link to kind of bounce around and see some of the others as well.
I mean, I'm happy to keep seeing more install photos, but yeah, if anybody else has questions, topics, drop them in chat, hop up on stage. Otherwise, we can just keep talking about installs.
I'm digging up my install photos now. I got to get in on this.
Oh man.
These are like pro level looking installs. I'm impressed at what's going on here. That's really good.
All right. So, question on what's happening with IoT rewards dropping this past couple of days. I mean, I would only be speculating. I actually don't have a clear answer unless Joe, you're more aware of. I mean, one is that what's been exciting is obviously we're seeing um, more hotspots that are coming back online. So obviously, larger population of hotspots that are out there. On a per basis, that's going to come down.
Yeah, I think that effectively nails it. As sort of a reminder, all of the rewards emitted to hotspots per period are out of IFIX pool. So if there's one hotspot on the network, it would take that pool. If there's 100,000 or 300,000 or 400,000, it divides up accordingly. I just dropped a dashboard in here from Helium Geek that I think illustrates this pretty well, and you can sort of see a direct correlation of the number of gateways rewarded to the average reward amount. Hopefully that maybe answers the question. I didn't see that one come through. But,
and again, like proof of coverage, rewards around that. That was always intended to think about how do we solve for a cold start incentives of standing up the network. People want to pump more through, set up some smart home sensors, get friends, get businesses. Part of this community, like our responsibility collectively is evangelize the network, talk about its utility. How do we bring more sensors online? That's kind of everybody's goal here. It's one of our most important things heading into 24 from Foundation's perspective is how do we continue to educate, advocate, get the word out through more channels that this network is out there. We've run into cities that are building private networks and only find out after the fact. That's how we're kind of driving the next batch of conversations. A lot of big focus on. So if people want to see more awards, let's get more sensors online.
Yeah, speaking of sensors, I've been having a lot of fun lately with a couple of pretty easy to get started ones. I think particularly for this audience, the Demo macaron. I don't know. I say macaroon. They say it a slightly different way, and I'm probably doing it wrong. But
so careful, it's not a pastry.
It's not a pastry. Yeah, it's a small ODB2 reader for a car. The really cool thing though is it uses the Helium LoRaWAN network to backhaul all of the data so that DPIN project can be connected to the internet. So that's a sort of a fun one to check out. Relatively low barrier to entry to get in and sort of play around with that network. So I'm learning about the Demo project through this new thing. What are some other ones that you've been excited about, Scott?
Sorry,
Put
you just
you on
talked
the
about.
spot.
Yeah, I would say. Always do we talk about Hive Mapper? I mean, that's another great DPIN project that's leveraging him. I'm trying to set up honestly, I feel like I've been trying to use some break to like actually get some more stuff set up in my house for like window and door opening, some of the flood detection stuff. Thank you, New York, for the aggressive rainfall this season. So honestly, there's a lot of like already great partners in the ecosystem, not makers, but they have a fantastic suite of sensors. So
my girlfriend got me flood detection sensors for Christmas. How well does she know me?
I would say that's a read the room for it.
Yep. Another one that I guess I've been playing around with doing a little bit of travel is the Seed SenseCap tracker. I think that's what the T1000 tracker. And it's pretty cool because it uses Wi-Fi sniffing to find a location in addition to GPS if it needs to. So it tends to be pretty quick at grabbing a location, and it also stashes all of the locations on the device. And so if a payload doesn't go through, it still knows about it. And then when it does get connection, it'll actually upload all of that. So you can see the whole historic route of a device without having that connectivity. I found that to be pretty nice implementation. I think the chat is just turned into deployment chat, which I'm 100% here for. This is great. Yeah.
I mean, if anybody else wants to talk about sensor deployment.
This looks like full-on CBRS deployment. It works. All right, Spike McLeap, we'll go and pull you up for a question here.
Hello?
Hey, welcome up. Hey, we can hear you.
Oh yeah, I had a question around the covered cells, how that number is determined. I just posted the screenshot of my radios in the chat.
Taking a look here.
Covered cells.
We might be in a different chat than you. Which channel were you
Joey,
looking at?
It's right. I'll just
event
post
voice.
it again.
I'm not seeing that.
Okay, I just pasted it again.
Oh, yeah, I spotted you. Cool. So the question, yeah, go ahead. I got the
It's how
screenshot.
those numbers are determined, because I see a lot of radios with drastically different numbers. It's just my understanding.
Yeah.
My understanding.
I wonder if we can get Mad Ninja to come up here. He'd be the best person to explain this, but I can also take a shot at it here if you want me to. Aaron, I'm going to invite. Well, I don't think I can do that. All right. So what's going on there as far as covered cells is that the Helium mobile network rewards hotspots based on the amount of coverage that they are providing. And it does this through a modeling methodology. So what happens is the hotspot goes online. You give the network some understanding of where it is, how high it is off of the ground, and what direction it's pointing. And then given the attributes of the gateway that you've deployed, it can make some pretty educated guesses on how many, cells, I'm going to call them, are covered by that gateway. We got Mad Ninja up here. Maybe he can add on to that.
Hey, I was still trying to catch up with everything you were saying. What was the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, here I'll ping you on the question here. So the question was specifically like, where are these numbers coming from? Because he's seeing drastically different numbers for different radios and gateways.
Oh,
It's actually
yeah.
the same model number radio, but the numbers are vary. Some goes into thousands and some are in hundreds. Like for 430H.
It's the same radio model, right? But it may be pointed differently. Like, so it has different azimuth, height, etc., and which would affect the number of cells that it covers, which would affect the model that the model coverage system comes up with, which affects the number of points that it gets, which is sort of how you get here.
Is there a guideline on how to improve these numbers? Which
Yeah, I mean,
factors to target?
that's what the planner.helium.com website is about. Basically, you
Okay.
give it the details, and it'll tell you what hexes it will get covered.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Anytime.
Yeah. It's a great question. It's always helpful to remember that RF and all of this is a very new territory for a lot of folks. So as much as I might spend every day thinking about it, it's helpful to be able to explain those things again. I'm going to go ahead and bump you off, and we'll pull up Zircon. Hey, we can hear you. Welcome up. Oh, I thought we could hear. Zircon, can you give us a sound check? Oh, never mind. Lost him. Scared him off. Again, for anyone who may have just jumped into the call or joined a little late, we offer the Helium Foundation offers these community calls once a month. Given the holiday season, we're treating this a little bit more as an open-ended Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat or just raise your hand and we'll pull you up on stage to join us up here and chat about it. Jonathan asks, when is the HIPAA 101 coming for a vote? Also, our thoughts on the HIP. And I'm going to have to remind myself which one that is. This is HIP
Yeah, I'm
101,
pulling it up.
increase POC reward points for a Wi-Fi access point. Hashcode gave an answer here, and I'm going to go ahead and stick with that one. So we're waiting for the offers and the mobile working group to bring that to a vote. There's a bunch coming through. Omega Splinter asks, when will
Yeah, I
boosted
saw one question.
locations come to other states? That is not a Helium Foundation controlled thing. So Hello Helium, as a carrier on the network, is making those decisions on where the boosted locations come from. I wish I had more of an answer for you, but that's the best I can do at the moment.
Yep, I think it's the same on 103 now, as far as that's a mobile working group.
Oh yeah, so this is Oracle-based
Oracle
hex
hex.
boosting.
Yep.
And I'd imagine if that rolls out, that would probably show a bunch more boosting in areas where there is demand.
Yep. All right, heated lime. Got you on
Hey,
stage.
thanks. Great. I can give a quick update on 101 and 103. I'm a part of the mobile working group. So 101 just had a new PR, I believe, pushed to it to have some updates. There might be, I'd have to double check in GitHub. That PR might not have been merged yet. Also, at 103, a new PR has been submitted for that within the past couple of days. So that's waiting to be merged. So as a part of 103, the new PR for it kind of expanded just beyond footfall. We noticed that there was some gaps in the footfall data, so we wanted to make sure that we're not necessarily penalizing people for putting it in a good spot where the footfall data map might be inaccurate. So we added a couple other oracles to it to kind of smooth it out. And we'll be discussing that more tomorrow in tomorrow's working group meeting. So if you are interested in it, to see how things are going with it, feel free to attend tomorrow's working group meeting at 11 a.m. Central. But I would imagine both of these HIPs probably will be good to go within the next couple weeks.
Awesome. No, thanks for jumping in and filling in on that. For anyone curious, the working group calls happen weekly. Those are a great opportunity to understand kind of what's coming up for the mobile network or IoT network. A lot of folks working really hard on evolving those sub networks of the overall Helium network. I'll say so doing a little bit of travel for the break. One of the fun things was wandering around and finding a Helium Wi-Fi hotspot and connecting to it just in a completely different area. So it's always a fun opportunity to see some coverage in an area where you wouldn't really expect it. So fun to see the mobile network growing similarly to the IoT network in those early days. Oh, missed this. Mr. B requested to speak. I'll go ahead and pull you up. Hi.
Hi there. Just want to make sure you could hear me.
Yep, can hear you.
Great. I was one of the OG miner people and was really excited about it, and I'm having a wonderful time with all this stuff. It's really the kind of problem solving I like to do. I had to step back for a year or so, and I have a 430i that I never deployed. And I understand there's some kind of issue with CBRS radios. Can someone enlighten me on with that?
Sure. Again, I'll try to offer my understanding here, but Mad Ninja, if you feel like jumping in, please feel free to do so. So again, my understanding is effectively that the CBRS radios had challenges based on the software that was installed on phones. And so the radios effectively on the phone struggled to roam between CBRS and all of the other radios that are active on those devices. And so the little bit of shakeup there was that it was looking gloomy in terms of finding a path forward. Fortunately, the Nova Labs team came up with a solution here, which effectively tells the phone when it should be within range of a CBRS gateway and lets that phone know that it should hop over. So is effectively looking to be hopefully a solved problem. And that should be a service that lands for Helium mobile users, so that it effectively, the important thing here is that the device roams smoothly between networks, and so that's the solution that's been rolled out here.
That makes perfect sense. If I can follow up, does that mean you get better performance with cell phones that were more stationary than those that were, say, going down a highway?
Yeah. Well, let's let Mad Ninja fill in the details here, because I think he'll touch on that as well.
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for asking the question. I think it's really good. So the problem, and Joey explained it really well. Well done. Is basically between handoffs between CBRS and the rest of the cellular network, right? Like in our case, T-Mobile. And so that handoff wasn't really going very smoothly. Carriers are sort of working towards it, but it's going on a much slower timeline than we expected it to. We found a way to make it work on iOS. It's actually like a relatively open API that we can utilize to tell a phone when it's in a CBRS area. So it switches over very seamlessly between one network and the other. But on Android, of course, it's like a huge variety of handsets with different features. And so it's like it's a little a lot of it is in the hands of both other carriers and operators to push like the handset makers into this space, right? To get it to be more standardized. Primarily, like a lot of it lands on Google's plate. And given the timeline, it makes it a little harder for CBRS to work well in the short term, which is why there's such a big demand for Wi-Fi hotspots, because those work already. Like every handset supports Wi-Fi based calling and connectivity. And so while they have shorter range, they're certainly like a very seamless deployment opportunity.
Got it.
What was your other question, Mr. B?
Oh, I don't know if that means that the handoff works better if a phone is more or less stationary rather than say driving down the street. I live near a busy street, and I'm trying to figure out.
In general, any offload. So the way I try to explain it is like the macro network, which is we're an MVNO of T-Mobile, right? So the T-Mobile network is considered a macro network. It's what you fall back on if there's no other offload nearby. The offload works best when there are lots of slow-moving people around. So that's where hotspots should deploy it. If you're in a car zipping down the highway, the macro network's got everything beat all the time. They have giant antennas with incredibly long range, right? So you don't have to switch over every few hundred yards, which would be painful, and it's hard for the system to keep up with, right? So if you're living next to a highway, pointing a Wi-Fi hotspot or even a CBRS hotspots down a highway, it's likely that it's not going to switch over because the macro network is much better at handling it.
Great, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, you guys are awesome. I really thank everybody for putting all the time that they're putting into building this network. I think I read about Helium in 2018 in like an article in Wired, and I had never considered anything like this in my life before. But I said, my God, finally somebody's doing something with crypto that actually has utility. And I've never looked back. It's thank you all for everything you do.
Thanks for being along the ride. Good stuff.
Yeah, thanks. I'd love to hear that. Tell all of your friends.
I have.
Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna bump you down here, and we're gonna pull up Geohey, who just asked a question. I know who this is, but I'm sticking with the Discord aliases. So I had the opportunity to meet Geohey at Helium House. OG Mapper. And Hashko just noted this in the chat. I'm going to bow out in just a couple of minutes here, but he's going to take over for me.
Hey, friends.
There he is. Oh, you're coming through a little dim, but we heard you.
Oh, God. Okay. How's
No.
this better?
Oh, much, much better. Yeah. Hey, there
There
he
it
is.
is.
Oh, he's even got the mapper avatar. Gotta really love that.
Wow. Nice.
Can you hear me or no?
We hear you.
Yeah. Haha. Yay.
You're up.
For friends. So, just following over after Mr. B there. Yeah, same thing. Fell into this. This is how I learned anything about crypto and all you guys. So, Joey knows I also just gotten an outdoor Wi-Fi antenna, and I set it up next to my CBRS antenna. And this is in the city, so I know it's probably not the best. But what I noticed is in this last week, I got like 250 mobile tokens, where the CBRS is like doing like 15,000 a day. So I'm kind of wondering, is it just a bad setup? Does it take time? This is up in a high rise, so I know I should probably move it. So those are all the questions. Like, if these things are mixed in a hex, and there's probably somebody else in my hex too, should I just get out of the hex? I guess.
See if somebody in the audience wants to jump up, because Heated Lime is pretty well versed with this stuff.
He's ready. We should keep him up here.
I know, we really should.
Hey, just want to confirm I kind of heard what you were saying. So basically, you have a Wi-Fi access point within a hex, and for some reason, it didn't get a lot of rewards one day. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's just been a week. I mean, I got it like Friday, and I set it up, and it's right on the same pole as my CBRS antenna, facing different direction. And I might move this whole setup, but I just noticed I'm like literally getting like 5 mobile tokens a day or something, and I was like, that's a lot different. And I don't know, if the setup for Wi-Fi is different, or it's just something that I did wrong with it. It's all it's all green and all good.
And it's an outdoor or indoor?
Outdoor.
Yeah, so there should be no effect. You can have up to, I believe, 3 outdoor Wi-Fi, basically, pointing in the same direction without being penalized as of now. If you have a CBRS radio there should be no penalization for it. The one thing I would recommend is to check to make sure that you're passing speed tests and heartbeats. If you're not having at least 12 valid heartbeats epoch, which is 24 hours, basically you will not get rewards. If you are failing failing the speed test, you will actually get reduced rewards. A great app I recommend to check that all in would be Helium Geek. If you have iOS, I also believe it's on Android. It's a great app where you can kind of monitor daily to make sure that you're receiving the heartbeat requirements and passing the speed test. So If you have not checked that out already, I would recommend checking that out. If you already have done that and everything shows green, you're passing speed tests and heartbeats, I'd recommend submitting a ticket to FreedomFi, kind of just explaining the situation, and they'll be able to provide more clarification on what happened.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. And that, it's on a gig service and everything. I haven't done the Helium Geek, but I will do that. So, and just, in the Discord someplace, or one of the Discords, somebody was having issues with their antenna. I was trying to help them out too. And I was pointing them to FreedomFi support because they've always been great. Does that apply also for the Wi-Fi antennas?
Yeah, so basically FreedomFi support is Nova Labs, and so Nova Labs will provide support for any of the Wi-Fi hotspots since they're the manufacturer, and then they also will provide support for CBRS. So if you're having troubles with your CBRS radio or FreedomFi gateway, submit a ticket. They are kind of backlogged right now just because of the increase in interest in the project and everybody having interest.
Yep.
And submitting stuff. So you might, it might be a couple days until they get back, but that'll be outside of Discord, outside of posting in the 5G CBRS channel. A lot of us are pretty helpful there. So, definitely you can try that as your first line to see if anybody else can answer any questions. But any other questions that can't be resolved, I'd recommend just doing a ticket through FreedomFi.
Yeah, and I was just kind of like reiterating that because that's been my experience, and it's been great because one day my CBRS just stopped doing anything, and I didn't do anything with it, and they fixed it all so remotely. So that was awesome. All right, well, thank you very much, guys.
I love seeing community members help each other. It's pretty awesome in the channel. All right. Any other questions from the audience? Clean Socks, join us. Clean Socks. That is a great handle.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
Yep.
How's it going?
So I just have it's more of a wallet question. I'm just curious as to why we're only allowed to convert so little helium into Sol. Because I sure would have liked to convert it back when, it was a little bit cheaper.
Could you say a little more? Like, do you mean that
okay.
is the app limiting the amount that you can convert at a single time, or what's going on?
Yeah, maybe I'm just ignorant. That has been known to happen in some cases. So I tried to convert some into more than 0.02 or whatever it is that the app prompts me to convert, and I don't know how. So new. So any pointers would be helpful.
Yeah, I think I understand the question. I think you're referring to the fact that there's a feature in the wallet app that lets you convert any tokens that you have into Sol, specifically for paying for some networks call it gas, Solana calls it transaction fees or rent. And so the idea here is, you might have tokens, HNT, IoT, or mobile, and you want to be able to convert to Sol so that you can actually use the Solana network. Everything that we do on chain requires some small amount of Sol. And so, yeah, so that's that feature. But if you are looking to just swap tokens, from HNT to IoT or other way, or to Sol or to other tokens in the Solana ecosystem, there's a swap feature. It's those like two yellow arrows that kind of are pointed at each other. And that lets you do, kind of any amount that you guys have. And that in the back end, what that uses Jupyter, which is it's called a DEX aggregator in the Solana ecosystem. And it tries to find the best available swap rate at the time that you're asking.
Okay, and then so can we go to the Jupyter? Is it like an app or a DApp or we can load onto the
you could use Jupyter directly if you wanted to, and so that's using the DApp browser. That's that globe icon on the bottom right of the app. You can go directly to Jupyter, or you could just use the swap interface. unlike other wallets that are out there, the Helium wallet doesn't charge like a platform fee or anything like that. It just uses whatever Jupiter is providing as prices. We're just being transparent about it.
Okay.
So, some folks, like if you use, Phantom, for example, or others, like you might notice a difference in swap price if you swap directly in the app versus, directly in Jupiter. We're kind of just passing through whatever Jupiter sends us.
Okay. And then, okay. I think that answers my question.
Awesome. Glad to help.
Appreciate
And
that.
if you have any other follow-up questions about the wallet, there's a Helium wallet channel here in Discord. And so drop some questions in there.
Okay, I will make sure that I look at that. Thank you.
Of course. Any questions in here that we could answer?
Oh yeah,
Scott,
I can.
Can we get a
Sorry.
pitch for Helium Foundation membership? That's a good question.
Yeah. I just caught that one from Jay. Yeah. So membership is going to So we've got an institutional and Vosen enthusiast tier. Institutional is going to cover across effectively 3 different tiers. Depending on the level of financial contribution, but high level, really what we're trying to do with membership is, and the way that the community call is almost our monthly, that's the platform for how we discuss things around governance, to the protocol itself. Foundation is going to be kind of a hub for how we think about, growing the network in general. So one of the things that we want to do for members, especially on the more institutional or commercial side, is how can we leverage our press resources? How do we make sure we're really telling the story of the network kind of through our members? So the way that we think about this is, the best way to get the story out there, it's through use cases, it's through partners, it's through applications in the network. How can we make sure we're aligning our message? So for some of our top tier members, where they have some of their own press resources, where can we come together to make sure that message is consistent, it's solid, we're thinking about how we're segmenting the audience to get that message out. So it's a lot of the kind of demand side growth initiatives that we want to do with kind of our key stakeholders in general. Emotional side is number one. That kind of unpacks into how can we do stuff together around events with again, this is more the institutional partners. So partnerships at events, how do we get speaking slots where we can kind of, Foundation tells a story about the protocol, the network, and a little bit of the long-term vision, but we want to make sure we've got, are talking about their services that they actually provide, because that's more tangible to a lot of those audiences. So how can we really make sure we're in a platform for our biggest contributors, whether that, manufacturers, both on kind of gateways, sensors, some of the service providers that are out there, and that's both kind of for the IoT network and the mobile network. So a lot of stuff that we can do to kind of promote and push the narrative overall from a very aligned place. I'm excited about us trying to figure out how we can start to do more things around engagement. So where those are hackathons, I think that, for those who know how the Solana Foundation and their team have really scaled up on the developer side, they do a lot of these hackathons with different streams. So from our side, that could look like prize money for new applications. It might look like something that's more of open source tools for the network. So thinking about a lot of those initiatives, like they kind of have to be done through like one collaborative hub, and that's kind of what we're looking at for membership, and how do we help support a lot of that for our partners. On the enthusiast level, think about that in the sense that, what can we do for folks that are the most aligned? So some of that might be, can we do an enthusiast get together during the year? To be totally honest, we haven't put together an entire strategy around what that's going to look like, but think of it as, for the folks who contribute, how do we make sure you're getting kind of free passes to a Helium event? If we have some of these get-togethers, whether that is US or Europe or in Asia, how do we kind of get folks involved and make sure we get the invite out to anybody who might want to attend, whether that is, are we doing something as small as a happy hour community to make sure you're there. You've got every opportunity to connect with other folks in the community. And if there are things you can get involved with that might be more project based, to make sure those folks have kind of first access to some of that. We're still going to make sure we broadcast stuff on Discord, on socials, as we always do. But some of those kind of conversations around some of the demand side growth that's going to happen through the membership platform in general. But just to kind of close this out, our promotion, collaboration, additional foundation that we can do for folks that can provide an operational benefit. But I think before a lot of this is going to be working with this first cohort of members of what do folks want and what provides the most value to those businesses in the long term, and how do we evolve the membership program from there. But if there are further questions around it, membership@helium.foundation, or just ping me in DMs and happy to chat a little bit more.
Thanks, Scott. So there's some other questions in the chat. One about making things available in Mexico. So the IoT network is going strong in Mexico. There's been a lot of deployers there. As far as the mobile side, there's a couple of things. I mean, I think the biggest thing that's important is there needs to be kind of an entrepreneurial and maybe sort of forward-thinking telecom provider that's willing to start up a service in Mexico or in other countries. I also noticed on Twitter a couple of days ago that there's a professor of finance that's pretty well known in Turkey who was very excited about Helium Mobile and what it could sort of provide to the residents there. I think it really comes down to having somebody who is willing to build that demand side of it, and if they're out there, really, really happy to, as a foundation, to work with them to enable that. I think one of the things that have been talked about in the community is that it's pretty expensive to establish yourself as a service provider. You need to stake 500 million mobile tokens. That's something that we can work on with those local service providers. If that is the impediment, let us help. And then, doing integration into the settlement service and things like that are kind of key to making sure that, data is actually being paid to hotspot owners in those areas. Those are things that we can also help with. So if there's folks out there either live or listening to the recording that want to be able to set up service providers in their own countries, similar to what Helium Mobile is doing in the United States, we're happy to chat. Then there's questions around using on other exchanges out there. Typically exchanges, their listing process, that's entirely kind of on them. They do reach out to us. To be clear, like we're not completely oblivious to it. And we do, make sure that they have all the things that they need from a technical perspective. It's a lot easier these days for exchanges to list us now because we are just standard Solana tokens, SPL tokens. And so, they need a lot less support from us, but, certainly we're here to, retweet like a new listing just to make sure that our community knows that this is not like some other token that's being listed. And so when they do reach out to us, we usually sort of amplify it a little bit. So yeah, that's, but as far as other exchanges, it'll really be on them to decide. Max, why are we not charging transaction fees for swaps? Oh yeah, I did mention that. We could, but people get mad about that, Max. And the question is, who gets to keep those fees? But yeah, if you have any ideas around why we could, or if you just want to open the PR for it, go for it. It'd be pretty easy to add to the interface. Positive outcome from the foundation's trip to Congress. Some actually. Thanks for asking, Andrews. The trip that we had was, and for folks that don't know, Scott, myself, and our general counsel Josh visited DC just over a month ago now. And it was good. We met with a bunch of members of Congress here in the United States, and with their staff, and then a couple of other sort of House committees. It was for me, it was a very new experience. And so it was sort of interesting to understand how this process works. They're really looking to be educated. And I think that is the role that we have, that we can play here, which is educate them about all the sort of non-speculative, non-financial uses of crypto. Like we as a network are, I think, the example of it. And so that is our job. And so, we're going to have a couple of follow-up conversations in DC, and as some of these bills come are sort of formed, we'll sort of be a part of that. So yeah, that's so I think it's been really good. To be honest, I was skeptical, but I've changed my mind.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we probably take for granted in our circles is how much we are very, very well aware in this community of the good that, what can crypto do to kind of build physical infrastructure networks. That's less of a known thing in the halls of Congress in Washington, D.C. Crypto is usually looked at as it's financial instruments. So expanding their understanding of what can be done with this, talking about Helium in context of some other deep-in projects, it just opens their eyes to what else is possible and what can be done. So, good for us to be out there educating and advocating. I actually can't remember. Did we have an hour or hour and a half for today? I know that we're doing
just an hour.
Different. Yeah. Okay.
But we have 3 minutes. Any other questions out there?
Yeah.
There's a fake Helium token out there. Can we stop this? Unfortunately, not. And this is kind of my point earlier around, acknowledging when there is a new platform, not just exchanges, but other platforms out there that might, quote unquote, list or integrate Helium. One of our jobs is to make sure that we highlight the ones where it's using the correct token that are out there. And, the reality of networks, all networks, including our own, that are decentralized, is that you can create your own name for a thing, and it could be, it might not be real. If you're ever unsure about the token that you're using, and this is not just for Helium tokens, but other tokens out there, make sure that you can verify the token address, right? And so, on our in our docs, we have listed the token addresses for H&T, IoT, mobile, data credits, all of those things are listed there. So, make sure that you're using those things. Using the Helium image, copyright infringement, sure.
Yes.
But, usually these tokens are deployed. Usually these tokens are deployed by, anons, right? So we have no one to send that notice to. If we did, though, we would, obviously we would do it. And we've definitely seen cases where, and this is not related to tokens, but, other entities using Helium logos, we as the foundation, one of our responsibilities to make sure to act on those things. If you're seeing places where there is a clear place where we can, send a takedown notice, shoot us a note, and we can try to follow up that way. Yeah. So all tokens, the way they're structured on Solana, you can specify any image URL, your token address, and any sort of token metadata.
And by the way, for the mint address that Abai was talking about, I just dropped that link in the chat. This is true. Again, this is across crypto in general, especially for tokens that run on the SPL standard, or for those who are in the Ethereum network that are on the ERC20 standard, that you can actually go and verify what those mint addresses are. So ours are listed right in docs, and the link is in chat. but yes, around copyright infringement. I mean, for the teams that are good actors, we're already in touch with most of them. For the ones that are bad actors, we can target them, and there's a known website. We have gotten in touch and reached out about takedowns, but for some of the anon stuff, it's hard. Top of the hour. Any other final questions? But thank you all for joining us in what's kind of still a little bit of a holiday week.
Any final dad jokes, Scott? Close us out.
God, I'm trying to think. I don't have a good one right now. Although I will tell you that from my end, this call is being broadcast live from alternate side parking in New York City. For folks who know what that
means. Someone's moving their car around. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm broadcast live from a family of, I think there's 13 people in this house. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, I don't know. There's got to be a good dad.
Is anyone still? So question for Clean Socks. Is anyone still receiving Helium tokens at rewards? So again, I don't know if this, if you're just newer to the network. So yeah, if you're mining and providing coverage, so you are receiving IoT for the IoT network and mobile for the mobile cellular side of the network. There's no mining for HNT tokens and hasn't been since the migration back in the spring.
All right, everyone. Well, let's close out with the New Year's joke. This is something my kids told me yesterday, which I thought was pretty good.
Oh, cool.
Scott, what do cows say on January 1st?
Got nothing.
Happy Moo Year.
Happy Moo Year. Fantastic. Well, I rolled all the way to the end of this call.
All right. See you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Happy New Year to all. Catch you in 24.
Bye, all.
Take care.